Hello, hello, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube family. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so excited about tonight's chat. And just in case you don't know who I am, I'm Dr. Sandy Eveleth, your eye care marketing OD. I'm a certified master marketer, a certified digital business consultant, and I love helping eye care providers maximize their profits with premium specialty patients through innovative marketing strategies. So, Trudi, I have been mispronouncing your last name for a long time, and I am so glad we finally got it straight. This is Trudi Charest. Did I say it correctly?
That's perfect. You know what? I am used to people not saying it right, so no problem.
Well, I am so glad I finally got it correct. But Trudi is the co-founder of Marketing for ECPs. In case you didn't know that, she's also everywhere. Marketing for ECPs is a digital marketing agency focused on building digital advertising for optometrists, opticians, and ophthalmologists. Trudi's well known for designing, developing, and facilitating training and marketing programs to eye care professionals across North America. We're not just talking the US, we're talking North America. She's a licensed optician with over 25 years of extensive eye care experience. Trudi also holds a human resource management certificate from the University of Calgary. Very impressive. That's fantastic. Her experience includes corporate training in retail, optical, territory management for Bausch & Lomb, clinical consulting with Optos, love that, and VP of Marketing and Training for I Recommend, one of Canada's leading optometric buying groups, before starting marketing for ECPs in 2015. Trudi is one of Vision Monday's 2019 most influential women in the optical industry. Congratulations, that's fantastic. She's an active OWA member and volunteers on the OWA membership committee to help grow exposure and membership in Canada. Trudi, you're an international speaker, author, industry consultant, and business innovator. Whew, that's a lot. Congratulations. That's fantastic.
Well,
Listen,
it either sounds impressive or it makes me sound old.
No, I'm right there with you, I just want to give a shout out to, for those of you that know that Dr. Daryl Glover and I, your favorite optometrist, Dr. Daryl Glover, we co-moderate the Eye Care Marketing Club and have been fortunate enough to have you join us on stage as a co-moderator in that club. We do that weekly, and you've been so generous in giving us so much information, so much content, so much valuable tips and tricks to really do what we're going to talk about tonight, which is fixing our websites so that we can attract more patients. Again, we're blessed to have you discuss that today. These are foundations for eye care practitioners. They need to have these in place on their websites. And I hinted at this other very important thing that is Google My Business, their listing. So we're gonna jump right into it with the websites. And I just, curious what you think are, 4 or 5 mistakes that you see many ODs making with their sites, and what do you recommend they do to fix those issues?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Sandy, Dr. Sandy.
No, Sandy's good.
The one thing that I would say, first and foremost, about the Clubhouse, Sunday sessions that you guys have, if you have not had an opportunity to join Dr. Sandy and Dr. Daryl, you should. Their sessions are great. There's so much great information. There's always kind of a golden nugget to take away from them. So I'm an eye care marketer and I learn stuff from them. So I would definitely take advantage. So love your awesome. Websites. It's one of my favorite topics is to talk about websites. Just to backtrack a tiny bit, is when I became the VP of marketing for a buying group, I was helping hundreds of optometrists with their marketing, and I just saw such opportunity for them to really compete better. And it starts with the websites. The website is the foundation to all marketing efforts. All roads lead to the website. And the one thing I love to do is teach optometrists about what makes a great website and what goes into building a really good website, and then what makes a website perform. And so it's not just about looking good, it's also about, does it work? Because I can drive somebody to your website, but if doesn't convert them, then it doesn't really matter, right? So performance is also really good, but there's definitely a few things where education before you build a website is super important, because I see a couple similar mistakes every time when a practice owner is about to take the endeavor of building a new site. It's a big job. To build a site today, it takes a lot of effort and thought and creation and, really understanding what you want to portray. So I think the number one mistake that I see practice owners make is not understanding that the website should reflect their objectives. So the first thing I like to do when I'm consulting with an optometrist is I really ask them a bunch of questions first, because I ask them, what are your practice goals right now? Do you have holes in your schedule? So is patient acquisition important to you? Because then I'm going to build a site around getting that objective or that call to action. How do I drive patients? But if you're solidly booked, your goal might be, I want to grow my optical, or I want to grow a medical niche like dry eye. I want to teach people about the brands that I carry. So it could be so many other objectives. And then, building a site around those objectives can truly drive different results. And so that would be first and foremost. I would say second is to understand, consumer buying patterns. So when we ask a consumer why they chose the website they chose, and I just saw a stat today, and it was really cool because I've been using this stat, and I'm glad to see that I'm still right on track with this stat in this past year. But the Vision Council just released a study today all about internet use in the eye care industry. And
awesome.
Yeah, and the one thing that they showed again was that a consumer, when they're searching for an eye care provider, still only choose one or two websites to look at. So it really goes to show you that website as seconds to convince them that this is the website or eye care provider. And so to me, what convinces them? Design. So design is crucial. And yet I see so many practices, probably the biggest mistake is one, they're either using a more templated stock photography, or they're not using images that truly portray their business. And I've seen everything from, a high-end, boutique-y, high-fashion practice using a very stock medical image to the opposite, right? And so I would say understand that initial image is literally your engagement. And it is what is going to tell that potential patient, look more, see more, go through this website more. And so I would say design is often the big mistake. Really work with somebody who can help design your vision of your practice and tells your story. Or your objective too. So again, it goes back to objective. So if you have like for example, we have a couple practices, and they're in Florida, and they came to us and they said, we really want to attract a younger patient base. And our patient base is really, growing older, high senior patient base. We're not attracting the younger patient base. And so we really looked at that objective, and we put an image of a millennial mother and child, and we started driving attention to that and that type of advertising, and it works. We've grown this younger patient base. So design can be super crucial in engagement and hitting objectives. Number three, I think mistake is content. So amount of content, type of content, unique content versus copied content, just so many things about content. So content is king in Google's eyes. And so you want to write content that is answering questions that your potential patients are asking. So they might be asking something like, my eyes are irritated and red. And you want
Right.
content that makes that show up. They are not typing in, I have an ocular trauma. Like it's
Right.
just, and
Or
so,
even I have dry eye, because
right,
that's not what they're thinking. They're not, and we're so used to saying those phrases that of course it's, oh, well, dry eye. No, no, no. Those are not the phrases you want to put as content.
right. And yet, if if we look at some content, it's very technical. It's very, written for a very analytical, highly educated person versus writing it for the average patient who might be looking for something. So one is writing it for the user and understanding what they're asking, but the other is writing it for Google. And
Hmm.
so we want to teach Google that you are an expert in this search that's happening. And what we want to do is get Google to show your website, because it is trolling or scrolling that content and trying to figure out which is the best website to show. And we want to teach them that it's yours. And so, the websites that we write very, completely uniquely, first off, because Google does
Yeah.
penalize copied content. So that's where a lot of mistakes happen with copied content. But we also write it in a way that is geography based. So we're teaching, Google that you are an expert in dry eye in, Miami, Florida. And so a lot of it is really written, to help search engine optimization and search engine ranking. So those are kind of the top three. I have a couple, they kind of fall into the last couple.
Sure. Let me chat a little bit about what you just said, because that there's a lot there that I think a lot of optometrists don't realize, that a lot of these cookie cutter templated websites that I've seen, I think you and I have talked about this in the Eye Care Club on Clubhouse, is that they're using a lot of the same content. I mean, exactly the same, because you and I know there's a way to look under the hood and find out just some of the, the keywords, the meta phrases, things like that, all that lingo that we use in the web design industry. But also just looking at the content, all of a sudden these websites all look the same. The real danger is not only in the design, but also more so in the content, because Google will penalize all of those sites that weren't the original place that content
Right.
came from. And, people just don't realize that. And what I've found too in some of these, I call them cookie cutter websites, is that this behind the scenes SEO or search engine optimization, they forget sometimes, and I've seen this, where this very important piece you just mentioned, the location based information that needs to be written for Google. I've seen websites in Florida that they forgot to change the location from San Diego, California.
I know, I've seen it.
And it makes me crazy. And the other thing that makes me crazy, going back to another prior point that you made about the design, is I've seen websites where they're using, it's, again, I don't do what I say, don't do what I do what I say, but I've used some stock images, but I try to make them look a little unique. I've seen websites where they portray the doctor, it's a stock photo, and the real doctor's picture is not even, and it's the main photo. It's like the header. And no, patients want to see who they're going to see. They might not know. They might think that you're seeing that stock photo doctor until they walk into the office and don't see that person present. I mean, literally,
Yeah.
it boggles the mind. And, I know this, but, you specialize in this and you keep, the doctors away from doing this, but doctors don't realize this. They just don't know this is happening. So it's vital, 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 vital. So I just want
And
to kind of interject there. So
there's nothing wrong with using stock photography,
right.
especially because there is a lot of stock photography out there. So we try to really expand our portfolio of stock photography so that we're not necessarily using images that everyone is using.
Right.
That
Sure.
is probably the biggest mistake, right? Does it mean we never use an image that is on another site? No, but we do strive really hard to. The thing that we love to do, and you kind of hit on it already, is we like to showcase the practice.
Right.
Because patients actually really want to see the practice. They want to see the doctors, the staff, pictures of the practice, pictures, of the frames, and they want to get a feel whether this is a place they want to go into. And the homepage is king, but the About Us page is the second most
Right.
visited page on the website.
Right.
And again, this is an opportunity when you're building a new site is get a professional photographer to come in, get new photos of everyone, get some really cool photos of the practice and the frame, the frames, the products, the equipment, and just really highlight what you do, because patients love it. They hover over those images all the time.
Absolutely. And again, seeing the friendly staff faces and pictures and even videos. And we can talk about that too when you're updating your listing. Another thing that I see, and again, this is just to spark some more conversation about it, is I'm also amazed that, we use the phrase above the fold. That's before you have to scroll down. Of course, more of us are looking on our mobile phones, so that real estate is even smaller. But I'm amazed on both the mobile sites and the desktop sites that sometimes the call to action is not real obvious. I would assume and imagine, again, it depends, it goes back to the objectives, that for most doctors, the number one thing they want, the call to action, is to schedule an appointment, whether it's calling the office or clicking a button that they can do it online and schedule online. I'm amazed that oftentimes that involves scrolling. And on the mobile version of the website, it may not be easily clickable by a thumb. The thumb is what's going to push that button. And I'm often surprised it's this tiny little link. They just didn't take into consideration that. And I know now Google is favoring mobile over the desktop. So talk a little bit about that, about what, sort of just some generic things like the address and the footer and things like that. Tell us the importance of, what you would expect to see above the fold when you're auditing a website.
Well, I will tell you that I audit a website a day, at least, if not more. And I see the same things over and over again. And probably, I can even tell you one that I saw this week already. And it's actually a fairly recent site. It's only a couple of years old. Great branding on the site. The doctor obviously put a lot of thought into the actual logo and branding. He had written like 10,000 words of content himself. Yet there was a lot of things that he didn't realize were affecting his performance. So, we did an audit on his site, and we quickly looked at his ranking was really dropping. And he was not showing up for specific keywords. And so we started to dive in. I put his website through a couple audits. One is the search engine optimization or SEO ranking. The other is keyword. The other is content. And right away, he says he's written all this content, and yet the Copyscape program I use to see if it's copied content flags all this content. And he said, oh, well, yes, I grabbed some of it from my colleague's site. They all gave me permission. And I said,
right.
Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. Yes, they've given you permission, but you're actually getting flagged as copied content. He had no idea. Then the next part was I know that you and I understand above the fold. So what that means is on a desktop, it's the initial image you see before you start to scroll. Same with the phone. It's the initial image you see before you start to scroll. And what happened was there was no phone number on the homepage. Yeah. He had his phone number on the contact us page. Well, his call to action is he needs patients. And so you need phone numbers hitting you all the time. And book appointment buttons, and you got to make it super easy to get them to do the actions you want them to do. So those were just a couple things. Plus, when you're not showcasing your phone number and your address and even the city on the home page, you're not telling Google where you are, who you are, and same with keywords. So that right away, when we do an audit, I look for numerous things. And I actually have a full self-audit. So at the end of this, if you want, I can audit your site, but I also have an audit sheet that has everything you should look for on your website to see where it's performing, where it's not. But that's kind of just, one thing. I mean, the other thing we started to talk to him about was, why his site wasn't performing well. And one, obviously we saw the content, but the other is he literally had not touched this website since the day he finished it. So,
right.
No activity. So set
Right.
and forget, right? That's a
Right.
very common mistake is
Sure.
Google loves activity. Activity breeds
Yeah.
activity. And
Yeah.
so what happens is if you're not doing anything, you're not updating brands, you're not blogging, you're not writing a bit of new content on your new IPL machine, if you're not adding some activity to the website, it almost in Google's eyes feels like a dormant website.
Right.
And Google likes to rank expert websites. So if it's not seeing activity, it's not necessarily an expert website. So that was the other thing we talked to him about, was really like, what can you do for ongoing activity? What can you do to add more keywords to your website? Because we can see the keywords you're ranking for, but we can also see the keywords you're not. So this is a great
That's
opportunity
cool.
for us to say, hey, okay, you are not ranking for optometrists in so-and-so. And so we need to concentrate on those keywords. You're not ranking at all for, for this guy, he was sports vision. And I mean,
Right.
that should be key. If that's your niche, that's what we want to go after. And
Right.
there were several times he just wasn't ranking in the right spots for that. And so big opportunities for sure.
Huge opportunities. And again, I think what, if we're looking at it, that the number one, objective is to get patients in the door, is to make sure that you are ranking. We'll talk about Google My Business in a second, but that you're ranking for that famous phrase of eye doctor in, and again, I use Tampa all the time because that's where I'm at, or optometrist in Tampa. When you're new to the area, or you don't have a name that you want to look for, of course it's easy to rank for your own name and for your practice name. If someone types it in, you better be number 1, 2, and 3 up on that first page. But for the most part, when someone's just looking for an eye doctor, that's the first thing. So they want to rank for those phrases, and then secondarily start to rank for those questions that someone might type in, such as, why are my eyes itchy at a certain time of the year? Or why do I feel like I have to rub my eyes when I'm working on the computer all day long? So those kind of phrases is what gets them into the blog content, into that deeper content. But those two major objectives get them at least for that phrase if they don't know who you are, and then secondarily for those specialties by writing some of that content. But before we move on to the other, is there anything else that you can think of? I mean, I know there's other stuff like, are they loading quickly? Those are all those things that you're auditing for. You're going to get penalized if your site doesn't load quickly enough, and if you don't have a mobile optimized. I'm surprised even in today's time that some sites are not mobile optimized. So talk about, a couple of those little things.
Well, mobile is so important. In today's world, 60% of the searches just for eye care are done on a mobile phone. And so mobile has become even more important than the PC version and the desktop version. It is to us, we have to build a great mobile experience, even more so than the desktop experience, because we know every single month and year we see just more and more people on smartphones. And so what we've done is we've really looked at the mobile experience, and we actually customize a mobile experience. We don't just do mobile responsive. So most agencies, what they do is they build the desktop, and then they use a technology that makes it mobile responsive or shrinks it and makes it a mobile view. It doesn't mean it's designed for mobile. It doesn't mean that the calls to action are in the right spots. And so when you land on a mobile version, the number one thing we want them to do is do immediately, before you scroll, within thumb's reach, to be able to do the action you want them to do. So if it's calling, we put 2 call buttons in that initial image because we know it works. We put the book appointment in that initial image. We put location in that initial image because those are the 3 things that we get the most action on. The fourth kind of action that we can get is if they have a chat feature, we put it in that initial image. If they have an online store, we put it in that initial, call to action button. And so it's putting those right in front of the person so they don't even have to scroll down. I have been on an audit where I have shown a practice owner that I land on your mobile, because I can show you your mobile. I could show you guys right now, is that they're scrolling, they get all the way to the bottom before they find the phone number.
Right.
And then here's the kicker. They go to click on it and it's not clickable.
Yeah. Wow.
So if your phone number is not clickable, you should go test it right now. Anybody on here, go test your website, your mobile website. And if your phone number is not clickable, you are losing business every single day because people will not copy and paste it into, an internet to find your number to call you. You have to make it clickable or they're going to the next website. It's that simple.
And they are. And the statistic that we can't track is all the business you're losing that you never knew you lost, because you're not going to know who's gone to the website and just said, no, I can't. There's no way. I'm going to the next guy.
Well, that's something we should talk about before we go on to Google My Business.
Yes.
I think one of the biggest mistakes that practices make is not tracking. So when you work with an agency, the one thing we do is we highly track everything. So we put different kinds of tracking. So not just Google Analytics. We put heat map tracking, call tracking, scroll map tracking on your website. So now I can see some of those things. I can see when somebody lands on your site, what do they do? Do they scroll to the bottom or do they leave? I can see, did they hover on buttons? Did they click on buttons? I can see if they click on your phone number. I can even record the phone number so I can listen to see if they actually converted.
That's cool.
And I can see things like they've gone all the way to your book appointment page but didn't fill it out. Right. So when we start to see trends, our biggest thing is that every geography and every location is different. Every demographic is different. So not every website will perform the same. So we need to look at those statistics. We have seen a website that performs really well in a rural location not perform in a downtown high metropolitan place. And we have to change it. We have to change buttons. We have to put things in different places. We have to put different calls to action. And it works. We have done little things like change a button from request appointment to book now. Like simple things like that. And it works. It's
tell the audience how much of a difference that can make in conversion. Between one button and another. What's sort of an average, like if you just change that from request to book?
Yeah.
What would you see?
So we've done some really kind of cool A/B testing. So once we have benchmarks for everything, right? So if we're not hitting a benchmark, like, we have a conversion rate. So what we do is we track how many people come to the website, how many people convert. So conversion to us is they click on book online, they click and go to the book online page, they click on the phone number, they send you an email, or they go to the locations page to get your address. So those tests are conversions. Now, we can't always see what happens on the other end, but if they do that, that's a conversion. When we start to look, if there's conversions not happening, meaning we're getting 1,000 people to the website and 5% are converting, that's not good for us. That's an average templated website will do that kind of conversion. We want 20, 25% conversion. And so what we're trying to do is figure out, where are we losing? Are they, and so we look at those heat map tracking, we look at those different map tracking, and we can see some people are never making it to the footer. Some people are stopping because we've got services here and they don't seem interested. So we have done everything from change a button to change a whole section and put in brands instead of services. And all of a sudden we see people going down to the bottom of the page. So it is sometimes more about trying to figure out why this site might not be performing in this location and changing that. But it can literally equal 5% conversion just to change a button. Yeah, just to change the section.
Sure. And that's huge. When you're looking at certain volume practices, that's huge, and certain volume of people being sent to that particular website. That's great that you're staying on top of it. Go ahead and let us know, how can people reach out and get a free website audit? Because I know that you offer that service. So what should they do to go do that?
Yeah, so I know you've got our website just
Yes.
scrolling on the bottom here. So if you go there and you go to the contact us page, it actually comes right to me. You can either
Awesome.
book a meeting with me, you can just send us an email and I will send you the one-page audit you can do yourself. You can just
Perfect.
send me your website and your name and your email and I'll do the full audit and send it to you.
That's
So
awesome.
just, yeah, you can get a hold of us on the website. And you can also
Do
see
it.
examples. We have a page of our recent work and we
Good.
upload all the time our recent work. So you can actually go and click in and look at some of our websites, get some ideas of what we do that's a little different. And, you know, if you're building with somebody else, at least take a look at some websites that have been built with a lot of planning.
Right. And it's great because you do stay on top of it. Everything that you told me tonight is exactly what I would recommend to a client is make sure that your agency is doing this, 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 and this. So it's absolutely why I send clients to you because you know you're staying on top of all of that. And that's fantastic. I love it, love it, love it.
Thank you.
So yes, I'm talking to the audience now, my community. Please go and get that service because it's an amazing. You'll be absolutely surprised when I think Trudy's being modest and saying it could be a difference of 5% conversion. It can be a difference of 10, 15, 20% conversion if you don't have that button on the top of the website, the book the appointment, and if there's just something about the design that doesn't look right, that absolutely you could be losing patients left and right and you just don't know it because nobody's telling you about it. So you're
Well,
tracking it for your clients, but other agencies may not be tracking it for them, so they're not going to
when,
tell them who they're losing.
yeah, when we do an audit, I always say this is free information. We are not high pressure sales. I will not
Yep.
hound you. I will not send you 10 automated, follow ups. What I love to do is educate and show
Mm-hmm.
people opportunity. And every time I do an audit, I think I honestly teach people exactly where they can improve and whether
Yeah.
they ever use our services or not, you're going to learn a lot. You really will.
Yeah. Well, that's why we align so well because it's all about the training and educating and just improving their lives for sure.
Right.
So again, I hinted at this before, but I think this is an absolute vital thing to do. And I think a lot of doctors just assume that when they have a website go up there, Google's going to find it and it's just automatically going to get listed in this thing called Google My Business. So, again, I'm often surprised at how many doctors don't even know or didn't even know that they had a listing or didn't claim their listing, or, it's just sitting up there because of something happening. But tell us what Google My Business is, give us a kind of a high level discussion about it, why it's important, what doctors can do to optimize it, to claim it, to keep it active, to keep it going. Just like a website, as you mentioned, you also want to keep things going in the Google My Business. I know there have been some changes, so putting posts up there actually is beneficial for the listing. So just
Yeah.
educate us.
So I'll start by saying, Dr. Sandy, is number one, there's so much that's important about Google. Google My Business is a piece of it for sure. We're a Google Premier Partner, which means we work really closely with
Awesome.
Google on everything we do. So whether it's, building a website to rank better in Google, to Google advertising and Google AdWords and Google Display to make you show up in Google and in ads, or is it, organically ranking or showing up in the maps, which is what we're going to talk about. But there's so many important things about Google, and 85% of searches in this eye care industry are done on Google. Because people ask me,
Yeah.
well, is it only Google? I mean, yes, there's Bing and there's Yahoo, but we concentrate on Google because most optometrists don't have surplus dollars to spend on their marketing. So we might as well go to the place where most of the searches are happening, and you'll get great results if you do the right things to to show up on Google. The most important thing is to build a great website and to build a lot of what is going to, connect to Google My Business.
Mm-hmm.
So Google My Business, think of it like the online yellow pages, really, is
Mm-hmm.
what it is. It is a directory. It is telling people who you are. It is telling people how to get a hold of you. It's showing your phone number, showing your website. And it changes all the time. So you have to kind of keep up with Google. It's where your Google reviews are stored, where you can respond to them. And yes, it is a listing that you have to claim. A lot of times, if you're working with an agency who built your website and is going to do any marketing for you, they probably have claimed it. But here's where everybody makes the mistake, is they claim it and they never look at it. And in fact, they often come to us and they're like, I have a review somewhere and I have to respond to it. And I have no idea where to even find it. And, let me start teaching them about Google My Business. But Google My Business or Google Maps is the same thing. I'm going to maybe grab the screen. Can I grab the screen?
Sure, absolutely.
Sometimes easier to show you what I'm talking about while I'm talking about it.
We definitely are in the visual world here. So yes, indeed.
Can you see that?
There you go. There it is. I sure can.
So I'll talk really quickly about the 3-pack. And if you have ever heard Dr. Sandy talk, she talks about the 3-pack. I talk about the 3-pack. So this is a really common search, right? Optometrist near me, eye doctor near me, eye exam near me. And then what happens is Google, again, is trying to decide who they're going to rank. So this first pack, or the first of the 3-pack, is called Google AdWords. And this is very interesting how this works. There can be up to 4 ads here. They are a bidding system. And yes, I hear it every single day. People are like, well, do people really click on ads? And I'm like, absolutely. And the cool thing, I could do a whole workshop just on Google AdWords. The cool thing, and I recommend it all the time, is if your goal is patient acquisition, if you need patients, hands down, Google AdWords works the best. And the reason being is that you are going after somebody who's actively searching for an eye care provider. Somebody who's typing this in is going to book an exam today. And so you're putting that ad in front of that person. That's a really qualified ad. So what happens, and just statistically, what happens is, if I'm doing a search on a consumer, I will click on one of these. I may then go down to the maps. And as you can see, there's also an ad in the maps. So what happens is a consumer comes to the maps, they kind of look at the maps, and then they often click on one in the maps, and it is often the first one. So putting an ad here, and there can be a couple ads here, but putting an ad here can get really great results. So this is what Google My Business or Google Maps is, and I'm going to get into the actual directory, but this is what you're claiming is to show up in here. Now, there's a science to showing up in here as well. I mean, part of it has to do with activity. Google likes to show websites in here or listings in here that have been active. But the biggest reason that's going to show up is because of location. So if I am searching if I'm searching optometrist near me and I'm right next to this practice, Google is going to rank the closest because it wants to show the closest location. So location has been super effective. That's why not only are people, typing in near me because they want something closer to them, they're also typing in open. Open has become very popular because they want to see if that practice is open. That's why you can see now it actually lists whether it's open or closed, because the searches have become so prevalent for the actual hours. So then as you scroll down, this is what we call the third part of the 3-pack, and it's the organic. So is organic still important? Yes. But as you can tell, like a consumer has to bypass 7 websites to get all the way down here to where it's now going to decide if it's going to click on one of these. So I think the biggest success is to show up in all 3. And there's a strategy that you can do that will make you show up in all 3. But it takes a lot, and it starts with the website. Now let's kind of go to a Google My Business listing. So I just use mine because I can get into it and show you, is if I typed in a business, and immediately you're going to see, obviously we have a Google ad running. You're going to see the actual listing, but you're going to see on the side the directory. So one of the biggest things that can be detriment to a practice is if they don't have the correct information. So if they don't have the correct address, phone number, hours, if they're not listing their website, there's so much that Google is looking for, that if it actually finds a conflict, meaning maybe it sees this address is different on another directory, all of a sudden it won't list you or show you because it sees there's an error somewhere, and it doesn't want to show a website that has an error. So making sure that all your information is current, making sure it's up to date is probably the best, advice I can give you. And then the next thing is to understand a lot of the things that you can do. So, obviously your reviews are really important. So not only watching for those reviews to come in, but responding, whether they're 5-star reviews, whether they're 1-star reviews with a negative comment, you want to absolutely respond to them. Now, oh yeah, go ahead.
So, well, I wanted to back up a little bit with the address information, because I think a lot of optometrists, I know we touched on this in the clubhouse meeting, is a lot of optometrists don't realize that their information is going out to a lot of directories. And they may think that, well, of course, on our website, we have all the accurate information. We went ahead and we did claim our Google My Business. We have the correct information on there, and we're still having problems with it showing up, or showing the wrong information, or not showing up. So, go ahead and talk to that what optometrists don't realize is they've got information. I mean, even for me, for my clinical side of doing things, I know that some of my information is still on directories from a practice that I've left 10, 15 years ago. So Go ahead and speak to that. And I want people to understand that all of this, the information that you're giving us, for them to realize that you do all of this, that for those of us that aren't as interested as you and I are in marketing, and it's what you all day long, that a lot of optometrists just want to be in the room with the patients doing what they love to do most, is to do clinical care. So understand that not only do you do these websites and know how to do SEO and know how to get them to the top of Google, and there's a lot of work to be able to do that. We can never guarantee that, but you also help with this directory. You, like you said, you do Google ads, all of that. So go ahead and speak to some of that.
Well, the last couple of things I'll just say about this, and then we'll talk about other directories, and we'll talk about, what you can get help with. But, besides making sure all the information is correct, when you get into the back, I thought I had it open, but I don't, but you can get into the back of your Google My Business, and it's almost like its own social media channel. And you can add events, you can add photos, you can add promotions, posts, information about the practice, photos. And so what you're doing again is just showing Google all the different things that you do. You can add all your services or products in there. And so it's almost like you're building out this whole mini website, is really what you're doing. And that's what I try to teach a practice, is this is not just, a listing that you claim once and never go back to. This is something that can literally drive business. And what I'll quickly say is that one of the things you can do that's kind of cool is there's an 8 step-by-step guide, and I have it. So just ask me for it when you contact me. Awesome. I have this 8 step-by-step guide. It's a PowerPoint. It'll tell you exactly what to do on Google My Business. But as Dr. Sandy said, it's work. And is that the best end of your time? So if you're an optometrist, is it better for you to spend 2 hours seeing patients, or you 2 hours on this directory, right? And obviously I'm going to tell you, outsource this, spend time with your patients, because you'll come back tenfold. And so, yes, we can help
it's a
you
lot of work. Yeah,
we can help you with Google My Business. We can do your Google ads. Like even Google AdWords is a good example of where people try to save money, because I get it. I'm a business owner. You know, you want to see if you can save some money. This is not the place to save money. You will actually spend more money if you try to do it yourself. Because, right, is what happens is the average optometrist who goes in and tries to do some Google ads themselves, Google AdWords, is they bid on, 10 keywords, not even sometimes 5 keywords, and they do the top keywords, the most expensive keywords, and they set it and forget it. So when I'm starting to talk to that practice owner and I say, what advertising have you tried? And I said, have you tried Google AdWords? And they're like, oh yeah, I tried it. It didn't work. And I'm like, okay, well, how much did you spend? And they're like, $300. And I'm like, okay, well, that's part of the problem right there. And I'm like, did you do it yourself? Yes. How many keywords did you get on? 5. And I'm like, okay, what happened, especially in your geography, is you got a bunch of, if you didn't target right, you probably got a bunch of unqualified clicks to those ads, and you went through your money too fast. And so the average optometrist needs to spend more to get more. And they need professional help. Like when we build Google AdWords deck for a practice, we build a deck of ads that's like 600 keywords and phrases.
Wow.
So we're capturing every search that's happening in your geography. And then, we shift and we optimize and we shift money and we look at keywords that are performing and ones that aren't, and nobody else does that. And so we make this deck of ads perform better and better and better and better for your geography. So the biggest thing that you need to do is understand that marketing done well, digital marketing done well, should pay for itself. It should.
Right. Absolutely.
Every day we see practice owners who invest a little and see results, and then they're like, okay, it's working. So they invest some more. So all I can say is probably one of the biggest mistakes that I see every single day is that a practice owner is not budgeting enough for marketing.
Yeah. And I think you said that, even like, again, not to keep bringing it back to the clubhouse, but I think you said at least $500 a month, just bottom line, in just doing the Google ads themselves. Forget, anything else, investing in anything else. But and I think, the important point too, that I think a lot of folks, and you and I both know that Facebook ads, there's a real issue with that now. I won't even address it, but with retargeting and everything. But the big thing is that people don't understand is that with Google, as you said, it's a buyer's intent kind of ad. People are typing in the search a phrase where they're ready to take out their wallet. Whereas in Facebook, it's what we call disruptive marketing. They're not even thinking about having an eye exam. They may be 9 months away from having an eye exam, and every now and then these annoying ads pop up, and I wonder why they're chasing me around the internet. Well, they're not going to even do that anymore. But the whole idea is, the reason why it's so important to do, invest in Google ads, is because those potential patients are ready to book an appointment. They're ready to buy into that appointment. So that's why, like you said, you spend, and now any marketing dollars, you want to put it towards Google advertising. Absolutely makes sense.
Well, there's there is a lot of marketing that works. There really is. Like it's not just Google.
Right.
I love Google because it does work. And when it's done well, it can work really well. But there's other marketing that also works great, but it depends on your objectives. So, you talked about Facebook ads. Facebook ads are not a great patient acquisition model, but what they are is a great promotional vehicle. So if you want to put on a 50% off sunglass sale,
Sure. Good point.
Things like that work really well, or grand opening, or, promotional activity can still work really well. Not that, we do book appointment, posts on Facebook, but there's no way we get the same results as putting it in front of a Google ad. But I will tell you though that one digital marketing avenue that is really underutilized in eye care that works amazing, better than all of them, is email marketing.
Yeah, right. The money is still in the list.
The money is in the list.
Wow.
Patient base. We started working with this practice in Indiana, and they've been around forever. They have, this patient base of like 30,000, and they had good portion of them had the email addresses, and they had done zero email marketing.
Wow.
Like we put out one email to their email base, and they couldn't believe it, like 30 phone calls within the first hour. We had to stop and stagger the emails going out because they were getting such good results.
Isn't that something?
Yeah. It can work really well. So
it still is in the list. It's the most direct communication, and in the online marketing world, I'm over here in this other world of online products and online marketing. And they keep saying that, people keep trying to say, no, it's not where, oh no, it is. The money is in the list. And that's where you get the upsells. And that's where you get, again, the bulk of it. And think about it, whether we're talking about $500 in ads or we're talking about hiring you to do this email marketing campaign, you get one patient per month. You've just paid for all of that. So now think about 30 patients per month. The return on investment is ridiculous.
Well,
so
thank you for saying that, because I mean, I struggle every day because I'm talking to a practice owner who has spent $500,000 on a new practice, $150,000 on equipment, another $200,000 on new inventory, but they won't spend $500 to tell people about it.
Right. Because they've either heard, someone say, oh, we can get a website up for $500 and we can do some social media marketing. And again, the difference is do you want to get one patient per month in the door, or do you want to get, 15, 30, 100. And we're also talking about lifetime value of patients. If you're bringing in the specialty patients, we're now talking one patient could be $5,000 to $10,000 of lifetime value. And then you're thinking about, what about all the patients they're bringing in because they're so happy? You're making them so happy. So it just, it just keeps going up. So I'm trying to be that ambassador, that mission out there to tell it's absolutely worth spending some money on digital dollars. And, it used to be doctors would spend $5,000 a month on a billboard. Well, we need to spend that kind of money on a digital billboard. Right.
Or yellow pages, right?
Right.
The average optometry practice back in the day spent $20,000 a year on yellow pages ads. Yeah. And the ones who really got it spent $30,000 and got the bigger ads in the, in the higher section. But a lot of practices have not transitioned that spend into digital. Right. You have to now.
You do. And it's funny because I've had a couple of inquiries. I have clients come to me and ask, well, Yellow Pages is reaching out to me. Well, Yellow Pages, they're just doing online, and I don't think they learned how to go from paper to digital as quickly as digital marketing agencies did. Yeah. So, they're even talking about paper versions, and it kind of boggles the mind. So yes, allocate all of that money that you would have spent on a billboard, on Yellow Pages, in direct mail marketing, all of that stuff that we used to do traditionally. It hasn't changed. It's just the tool that we're using, and it's the same way to talk to your patients or potential patients. Is it's just a different medium. So, but listen, thank you. We could have a show.
We could go on and on.
We could. There's so many aspects, and arming our clients with this information, getting them to be informed. It's just like patients. We want them to make informed decisions. This is why we're getting out there and educating. It's why you have that value as well. Why you want to listen. I'm offering this free service, and it's, I want you to know what you're getting when you're out there, and why you need to be armed with this information. So go ahead and tell everybody what you can do if you want to do, whether we put a link or, I'll invite you, of course, when this is over, it'll go up as a post. We can put those links in the post as well. But all the things we talked about today, you do. What else don't we know, or where else can we reach out?
Well, first and foremost, we're completely full service. So we do anything digital you can imagine, from building, really robust websites. And we do have kind of something for everyone. I always move people to, if you're going to build it, build a robust engine. I always talk about the fact is you're building a sports car. And then when you want that car to go somewhere, you add the gas. And that's the advertising. Really, honestly, like in the 6 years we've been doing this, there isn't anyone who is not getting a return on investment. When you build something really well and it works and we track everything, we're a huge data-driven company. We can see everything. We know that at the very least, it is paying for itself and more. So we do Google ads and Facebook ads and social media management and email marketing and geofencing and, so anything that is up and coming, we're on it. We're looking at every opportunity to help a practice compete. And, you're going to get even more competition coming in. They say that, like, both in Canada and US right now, we're seeing Australian companies coming in, UK companies coming in. It's going to get even more competitive. So the independent, and we work with independents, is going to have to get good at competing, and you absolutely can. In fact, in some ways, it's easier for you because we can get really targeted to your area. So I would say, if you are ready to kind of get into this online world in a bigger way and really grow your online presence, is reach out. I love having conversations. As I mentioned, there's no high pressure. I will show you what I see. I will show you opportunity, and you will walk away with great information. We have a ton of resources on our website too that are free, like on-demand webinars. We have downloadable resources, so many cool things that, take advantage of them. And last thing I'll just tell you is we are actually putting on a webinar next week, and I'm bringing in, and it is on websites. It's kind of cool because I'm bringing in my top graphic designer, my top content writer, and my top web developer to talk about what they actually do to build a website. Because I think
that's awesome.
They just don't have a clue, right? And I want you to realize is that you can always find cheaper solutions. Just like anything in this world, there's always somebody who will do it for less. It doesn't mean it's the right solution.
Right. So how do we find out about that? Is that, I'm sure that's going to be on your website.
Yeah, and I'll post it every year, but it's on the website. The link for the registration is already there. And if you miss it for any reason, or if you see this later, we always record and it's on demand. You can go there and watch it anytime.
Awesome. Of course you do.
Oh, yeah.
And I love your website. And I think I first found out about you. It's got to be a few years ago, probably around 2015 or 2016. And I really love your design. I do love, I think there was a period in time where, the whole ugly websites thing was a cool thing. And it's not. People pay attention to the quality of the design, and you walk the walk, talk the talk, because your design looks fantastic. So I'm very impressed with it. I'm impressed with the educational materials that you put out there. So, kudos to you. It's a lot of work. So you're doing a fantastic job. And, and with that, I'm closing out by really thanking you for taking the time out tonight, because you are very busy. And I want to thank you for your amazing contribution to the industry. It's, you can tell your heart is absolutely there. I'm in a group called the Marketer's Heart, and, it's about integrity, and it's about doing the right thing for our clients. And you're obviously doing that. So I really appreciate that. And thank you.
Well, thank you. And ditto back to you, because
Thank you.
I see you everywhere. I see you helping to educate the industry as well. I appreciate all the different, events that you're putting on, and I love being a part of it. So thanks for having
Oh,
me.
it's wonderful. No, thank you. And we'll be doing another Clubhouse
Okay.
hot seat. So if you're around, we'll let you know about it. So you guys have to come in there and see it. We'll have some updates on that, but it's a lot of fun over in Clubhouse. So, but thanks again. I appreciate it. And we'll have to do this again soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Take care, everybody.